if you look at the situation in the Middle East, and excuse me for this, there is a big conflict, between the Muslims and the Jews, and they're not getting along very well. Now, do you see the Muslims in here having an issue? You being Jewish and defending them in jails, and why would you really go and defend Muslims in jails?
I think that's a good question because even some of my clients reportedly have made some anti-Jewish remarks, or what I interpret. To be honest, I interpret them as anti-Israel remarks. And my view is that part of the heart of our problem here is not settling the Israel-Palestine issue. To me, it's really remarkable. And in this country, you can make almost no progress on that issue. I mean, the idea that, for example, the other day that the Bush administration agreed to expansion of the settlements, to me, I can't even put that into my comprehension. It's not something I can understand. I mean, how could they do something like that? And so, in my view, unless you get over that issue, I think that it's going to be less safe in the world rather than more safe. And this country has not been on the right, this administration has not been on the right side of trying to really settle that. So I look at the bigger issue. I understand why Muslim people sometimes, obviously I think, particularly in the Middle East, to be opposed to the practices and policies of Israel is obviously completely legitimate right now, and that slides over into the word, instead of anti-Israel, anti-Jewish, and of course Jews aren't all the same. I mean, there's groups in this city right now who oppose the policies of the Israelis in the Middle East.
Probably the most dangerous thing also is more terrorist incidents, because every act of terrorism empowers them more.
That's correct. When you want to look at why this has gotten away with in the United States, I mean, let's take Iraq. Why did 65% of the people in the United States believe that Al-Qaeda was involved with Iraq? Why did the majority believe they had weapons of mass destruction? Because when people are in fear, and people were terrified after 9/11, they'll say, oh, the leader says this, we'll follow the leader. What's going to happen here? So I agree with you. If there's more incidents, it could be even worse. And of course, there's been incidents outside of the United States.
Thank you so much.
Okay, great.
Yeah, no, that was a gift.
And Louis, you've been an example to a lot of Muslims.
Well, thank you very much.
In our region.
You guys that you still talk to us is great. So what can I tell you?
Thanks a lot. God bless you.
It was built in 1973. 73, no? Let's go.
والله مؤلم جدا. تعرف أنه الشيء الذي يؤلمني أكثر من أي شيء آخر في هذا الموقع تشويه الإسلام. هؤلاء شوهوا سمعة الإسلام، والنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لما خالد رضي الله عنه قتل هؤلاء الأسارة مباشرة قال اللهم إني بريء مما صنع خالد. عظيمة أنا ما أدري. ف
تشويه الزيت الإسلامي.
والله كان ينبغي للمسلمين فقط أن يقول اللهم إنا براء مما صنع هؤلاء، يعني بصوت واحد، مهما كان العداوة والبغض والحقد والكراهية لجرائم هذه الدولة. لأن والله أنا وقفت عند النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. وما أرسلناك إلا رحمة للعالمين. وابن قيم الجوزية قال هذا الدين كله عدالة والرحمة وحكمة ومصلحة، فما خرج عن العدالة إلى الجور ليس من الدين، وما خرج من الرحمة إلى العنف ليس من الدين، وما خرج من مصلحة إلى ضدها ليس من الدين، وما خرج من الحكمة إلى ضدها ليس من الدين. هذه قاعدة أنا تمنيت كل مسلم يحفظ هذه الكلمات، أن الدين كله عدالة ورحمة ومصلحة وحكمة، وأضداد هذه الأشياء الأربعة لا يتصل بالدين بالصلة.
لسه شيء تنظيف ولا خلاص يبدأوا بنا؟
How sad.
Well, I think the unfortunate thing is on the other end of the world, we've got, you know, the Arabs, I know, watching this are going to say, look at Iraq. You know, it's these cycles of violence that are just perpetuated. I think for the Arabs, there's a feeling in the Arab world that is so profound that American lives have worth and our lives don't.
Can you make that equivalence between destruction here, pain and suffering here, and at the same time, do you have to make that equivalence in your programming between what's happening in Iraq, what's happening in Palestine?
I don't think it's about equivalent in my program. I think
It's about balance.
If I see something like this in Iraq, I would say I would have exactly
No,
the same
because I mean,
feeling.
what they're feeling. See, what they are feeling is that, you know, and this is painful for me. I mean, just it's painful for me that Islam could get blamed for this. You know, I mean, that's
Islam as opposed to just a few individuals.
just crazy. Well, I'm not crazy. You know, calculated, rational beings. You know, hateful. That
But
could
this is
do
what Osama
this
was trying
in
to
the
do.
name of Islam.
The problem is that we suffer as people, millions, hundreds of millions, because of the decisions of few. That's really disturbing.
Well, that's time immemorial too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, this thing in a way bothers me more than what happens in Iraq for a reason. Both of them are innocents dying, and this bothers me at the same level. But this adds to me a certain bother that it's affecting Islam. This is beyond just the human tragedy. it's into that this has come in the way between Americans understanding the real Islam. So it adds to the human tragedy.
But this is exactly what Osama bin Laden wanted to do. I mean, that's the understanding that
Well,
he wanted
that's
to
the
drive.
tragedy of it. The
and that's-
wedge,
that's what-
the wedge was the goal, and the more we allow that to happen, the more we're actually doing exactly what the individuals wanted to happen, and that is the great. I think that's the extended tragedy of an already tragic situation. I mean, we need a serious paradigm shift on this planet. This is not working. And the response, you asked, do you think the Saudis can change? I mean, the question I think a lot of Saudis are asking, and a lot of Arab, can America change? Can America, the Europeans had a very different response. Most of them did not want to go to war. 1 million English people went out and protested. And the response, in Arabic sign language, the symbol for American is this, guns blazing. And that is unfortunately a lot of our response. My feeling here is an immense tragedy occurred, a heinous crime, but also an immense possibility for deep introspection on behalf of this people. And I feel in a lot of ways our leadership failed to really accentuate that aspect, because it's not simply good enough to say that they just hate us.
I was talking to a young guy, and he'll be in our story, and he just said, this is horrible. And, I says, I felt like at some point I was almost sort of having to counsel him, but he's saying, I just feel this feeling that everyone looks at us as terrorists.
Well, also 15 out of the 19 hijackers that has been repeated endless times, and every Saudi, when they hear that, it's just like, I just saw him physically do it. It's just, that's not us.
Now, let me ask you a question. I mean, it's like for our audience. Now, we've been doing this show to sort of bridge the gap and show, like sort of the balance. What are you guys doing? I mean, as CNN or that to do the same for the people? I mean,
That's what would come into Saudi Arabia and talking to you guys and talking to other people
But
and
what's
trying
the
to hear
message?
what people are saying. What's the message? I think the message is that it's like your message in a way that here, listen to these people, hear what they have to say, hear that they're normal people, hear that they have everyday issues, hear how they really feel about it, and then make your judgment on what you really think. And I think what we've heard you express. I mean, from where I stand, you're just like right there in the middle of Saudi society. You're the man on the street, if you will, of Saudi society. You're not telling me anything different that other people aren't telling me, and that's what's coming through. What you're telling us, to empathize, to understand, to listen to these issues. I mean, I think that's what we're doing. And
did you have certain expectations before? I mean, before you visited, were you expecting something? Then you saw something different. Was it the same? I mean,
when I came in June, I came right after the day that Paul Johnson was beheaded, and I felt that I stood out. And I felt, when I arrived in Riyadh, could I trust that taxi driver? Would I be safe?
That's a very
Would I be
real-
safe in the hotel?
What is a Saudi seeing on TV? The regular Saudi is sitting in Saudi Arabia. What is he seeing? All he's seeing is the Iraqi war. He's not seeing the Jewish person who we met today, the Jewish American, who is defending the Muslims in Guantanamo Bay, and who spent 2 years of his life just defending the Muslims, looking for justice. Saudis don't see that.
people in our country, when they will see the show, we will get some people who are not happy with what we're doing. They think we are, I don't know, the standards, we're distorted. And we will get this, and I know we are getting this. We feel we're doing the right thing because we have to voice our opinion, and we think this is the right thing. And that's what Islam teaches us. We just go ahead and do whatever is right, and don't listen to what people are saying.
And I'm sure a lot of people are watching us right now who are going to watch this are going to say, why didn't you go to Iraq to show all the massacres that are happening?
No, exactly.
Why
And
are
we
you
actually
going
were
to
thinking about
coming
going to
here
Iraq.
September 11th
I
after
know.
3 years of the incident, and you're not going to Iraq and children are being killed until today? Why are you doing that? I know this is in the mentality of a lot of our viewers, and that's why I stress to say here in this spot that this is a place not to remember this. This is the place to remember all civilians who have died, whether we are in New York or in Iraq. If I was in Iraq, I would mention New York. It's a principle, like Isa said.
You know, there are plenty of people covering the situation in Iraq. You're doing something different.
We're
You're
going
adding
against the
another-
flow.
You're adding another piece. You're
That's a
going
good
against
way to look
We're
at
going
it,
against the
yeah.
flow right now. I think this will be the first program that will we're trying our best, of course, that will show a balanced view on the U.S. taking emotions aside.
Well, we've named
We're
it
really
in the
trying to
balance.
push emotions aside.
That's the name of the program.
That's
Design.
interesting. In the balance.
In the balance, because
There are certain things-
justice, you know, our symbol for justice in our culture as well as in the Arab world is the scales. And it's just trying to get beyond the emotion weighing that scale too heavily on one side and trying to just be fair on both sides.
We're not saying that the U.S. is an angel. At the same time, we're not promoting that either. We're saying that it has good, it has bad.
Just like us.
You have to admit, like you're admitting the bad, you have to be fair enough, fair-minded, and this is brutally in our religion, that you have to be fair enough to look at the good stuff that the
Well,
U.S. has,
there's
as
a very-
people, as a government, or as a civilization.
There's a very important Quranic principle, which is biblical as well, but it specifically says in the Quran, do not allow the loathing of a people, either side, to prevent you from being fair. Be fair, because that is closer to piety or godliness. And that's what happens. The anger takes over, the resentment, and it clouds our ability to think rationally and to really be able to see clearly. So instead of seeing you as a human being, I now see you as an enemy or a demon, and you're not. You're just a human being, you know. And I think most of the people out there are just trying to do the best that they can.
I think that's one of the most important lessons I learned until today, is to try to look at people as humans. And maybe I didn't have that before I came. I had it, but not to that extent that I have it right now. After all the interviews we had, I'm looking at people much more on a human level before looking into the religious beliefs, which is in the core of a lot of people in our area. They look first, what's your religion, and then, okay, this will depend on what's your religion, this is how I'm gonna treat you. No, first you treat people as humans, and then, okay, you might get into religions, but that's later on. That's not the first step for humans, first of all.
I think because of all the media, you get sort of judgmental, and you see, and you make up your mind on whatever you see. And then when you came here, I mean, we had a lot of paradigm shifts. I mean, we've been seeing things totally different versus what we thought would be or what we've been seeing on TV. So as we get along, we start discovering other things, and we start changing our perceptions about things. And
This has to happen both sides. So New York doesn't happen again, and Iraq stops. Both sides of the world. هو ايش يعني الحين الجوانتانامو لما تكلمنا مع مايكل راتنر، ايوه، يعني انا الحقيقه بصراحه يعني كنت بقول كلمه بس مع الشيخ خمسه ماود يعني يقول انه اظن صار الان الاوان النصح يعني انا ما عندي استعداد لما ارجع اسمع واحد يجي يقول لي انه ابغى كل اليهود يذبحوا بالبشر،
لا اللي في المساجد،
وما ابغى اسمع امام يقعد يقول اللهم ابيد اليهود ومن والاهم بالتعميم ككل. وانا شايف بعيني حاليا يهودي قاعد يسوي للمسلمين من وقته ومن جهده البليون ونص مسلم ما سووه. وشفت الانجليزيه هذه حطت 3 من اللي خرجوا
عندها في البيت
عندها
شهر.
في البيت، مين من المسلمين سوى العمل؟ فاظن انا يعني
بقول لك نرجع لمبدا اللي هو
الكلام.
نرجع لمبدا دائره التاثير ودائره الاهتمام. يعني احنا اللي عمالين بنعمله بنركز في دائره الاهتمام، وايش اللي عملوا اليهود وايش عملوا المسلمين الاحداث اللي حصلت واحنا مضطهدين، بس كلام. هذول اللي عملوا مايكل مختلف انه ركز على دائره التاثير. انا ايش اقدر اعمل فرق وعمل الاورجنايزيشن حقته هذه اللي
ليه بس ليه تسال نفسك ليه؟ واحد يهودي، احنا شوف احنا كيف نظرتنا على اليهود،
هو ما فيش ديانه، هو
كلهم واحد يهودي، ليه
هو بيطلع لها
يضيع
كدين، هو
وقته؟
بيطلع لها هو انسان،
شيء عجيب.
هو بيطلع لها كانسان. هذا الشيء احنا محتاجين ننظر لها على جنسية جنسيه وبنظنها على ديانه، هو بنظنها انه هذا انسان ولا لا؟ طالما انسان محتاج مساعده، هل هو يحتاج مساعده؟ هل يستاهل؟ هل عارف يقول جست نكرت من هذا
ما بننظر للناس
وهذا اللي احنا محتاجين على قولك العجب. دولة عالم ثالث ما عندنا، وعندنا ريسورس وعندنا موارد وعندنا بس لازلنا في غفلة ولازلنا في نوم ولازلنا في سبات، فمحتاجين وما حنسحب يبغى لها شوك، يبغى لها عارف واحد يجي كده يهزك يصحيك عارف، وده اللي محتاجينه.
يعني انا شايف المسلمين حاليا مقسمين قسمين هم يمكن شكلوا 95. ولا في العراق، وعندنا جزء ثاني اوكي مهتمين بهذه الامور لكن جالسين في المسجد وبالنسبه لهم غير المسلم هذا كافر ولا نتعامل معاه ولازم كلهم يدبروا وكلهم يقتلوا سواء كانوا في البلاد الاسلاميه او خارج المسلمين. بس فين التوازن؟ فين الانسان؟ يعني هل يضرني؟ هل علشان انا متدين مثلا او بصلي واصوم هل يقلل من تديني اني اجلس مع واحد يهودي واتكلم معاه بمستوى حواري وعقلي؟ هل يجعلني ماني متدين؟ ليه ما الاقي واحد بيصلي ويصوم وملتحي وكل اهتماماته الدينيه وفي نفس الوقت بيتعامل مع الناس بانسانيه؟ في نفس الوقت ما عنده مانع انه يضع يده في يد يهودي اذا كان هذا لصالح المسلمين.
اكزاكت مش دين في الاخير الرسول عليه الصلاه والسلام مش كان درعه مرهون عند يهودي؟ يعني في التعامل مع اليهود والتعامل مع المسلمين والتعامل مع اهل الكتاب.
انا ابغى فكر انه ممكن انا اسلم على واحد غير مسلم بما انه في مصلحه للاسلام. مصلحة الإسلام لن تأتي فقط من المسلمين، ممكن تيجي مصلحة الإسلام بالتعاون مع غير المسلمين.
يعني احنا يمكن في الأخير نداءين، نداء للشباب إنه أصحوا وفوقوا وابدوا يتحركوا وسووا شيء. يعني يمكن في بدينا نلاقي بوادر صراحة يعني يمكن على مستوى حتى النوادي، بس في بدوا شباب يفتحوا عينهم وبدوا يستوعبوا إنه والله خلاص جاء الوقت نعمل فرق. ونداء للمسؤولين انه خذوا بيد الشباب، ساعدوهم. يعني اي مسؤول تحت يده هم عندهم السلطه وعندهم القدره انه يغيروا، التغيير منه اكبر بكثير من التغييرات حق الشباب. فندالي وان شاء الله وباذن الله ربنا يسهل ويش حسن الله.